how are you? I hope you're good. So this is a little bit of a different angle. It's way too sunny where I usually film now, so I can't film there, but I need to film before I go because I'm pre-filming for the 2 weeks I'm gonna be gone. So welcome to the new angle. Not that it matters, but I thought I'll address it before you guys think I had a complete meltdown and burned down all of my bookshelves. Today we're here for another super chill preview of what books are gonna be released this month. So we're talking July now. So yeah, I'm gonna be mentioning some of these. I just do a very brief overview of what I think they are, or like if I mention anything or that just this is coming out type of thing. And I have my laptop here because I have some tabs open, so if I'm glancing down, I'm looking either at that or at Momo because he's also down there. So there's Sea Witch, and it's by Sarah Henning, and this is a retelling in its class for YA, mythology and fantasy. This is a retelling of Little Mermaid again. I feel like we've had these for the couple of months. Every time I film there's a retelling for like Little Mermaid, so if you're into that, you're gonna have a fun time this year. The current rating is 3.94 out of 252. At the top it says, everyone knows what happens in the end, a mermaid, a prince, a true love's kiss, but before the young siren's tale there were 3 friends, one feared, one royal, and one already dead. I like that bit. So it seems to be about 2 friends, and one friend has disappeared and then another one came back, and the first friend is like convinced that this new person is her old friend or something like that, and then the whole mermaid thing happens. I'm not sure, but it's basically a retelling, so we already sort of know what's gonna happen, but it's interesting to see what sort of twist they have on that. So if you're into that kind of thing, this one comes out on the 31st of July, so at the very end of the month. Then we have another retelling, and this one is by Naomi Novik, who wrote Uprooted, and a lot of people love that book. I also still have it. I haven't read it, but I think I need to get in the mood for that one because I think it's quite like dark. So I know I say that I don't read seasonally, but like it screams either autumn or winter to me. So some books I feel like you just have to wait for the right time. But she's releasing a new one, and this one's actually a retelling of a Brothers Grimm fairy tale. I was trying to dig it up what it is, but it's for the Rumpelstiltskin. I don't ever know how to pronounce that, but you know what I mean. So that's pretty interesting because usually it's the Andersen tales that get retellings, but I am always happy to see a Brothers Grimm one because that was the massive book that I grew up with. Like all of my fairy tales basically were either like Lithuanian ones that my grandma used to tell me, and I'm fairly certain she made half of them up, and I loved her even more for that. But the other ones were Brothers Grimm because I had this like massive illustrated book. Well, I thought it was massive. It's probably fairly like medium size, but to me when I was little that looked massive. But it sounds very exciting, and for some reason I have this like thought that I'm gonna really enjoy her writing, even though I haven't read anything of her, so this is completely ridiculous and not based on anything but my gut. So I'm kind of excited by this. I actually have an anticipated release for this month, which doesn't happen often because I'm not very anticipating a lot of things. I just go with the flow. I'm too old for that phrase, aren't I? But there is one this month, and I honestly really do just have a few anticipated releases. One that is not like, I don't know the date, and it's like the Doors of Stone by Patrick Rothfuss, which is the 3rd book in The Name of the Wind. It's like the day that it gets announced to be released, I'm gonna do like a happy dance that lasts 2 hours. Then I have The Muse of Nightmares that I'm really looking forward to, and I'm sure there's maybe more, but at the top of my head this is basically it. So another one that is actually an anticipated release is the 3rd book by Becky Chamber, who wrote The Long Way to a Small and Angry Planet, which is one of my absolute all-time favorite books. I'm gonna read her 2nd one. They're not like related, they're in the same universe. Some characters are the same, but they're not following the same people throughout the series. The series is called Wayfarers. I'm reading the 2nd one I started the 2nd one, then something came up. It wasn't because I didn't enjoy it at all, but I just started like a couple of like 20 pages or something, so like ages ago, like before the Owls I think, so I'm saving it for the newts. I'm gonna have it for the book with stars on the cover. I am so excited to read that one. I'm saving the exciting books for newts, well some of them, because I want to enjoy these because it's gonna be challenging as it is. Hello, Zeus. Long story short, the third one is coming out, and it's coming out on the 26th of July. Did I mention the other one? The Spinning Silver is coming out on the 10th of July, if I didn't mention it. It's called Record of a Spaceborne Few, and I read a few comments of the people who have already, well, a few reviews of the people who have already read it because they got an ARC, I'm assuming. And some of them say that this is their favorite out of the 3, so I am beyond excited because that doesn't mean that it's gonna be mine, but it might be, and it really excites me. And currently the rating is 4.5, which is amazing, out of 150, so not that many, but I'm just so excited about this book, and and the covers are amazing, not that it has anything to do with it, but it's beautiful. Okay, coming back to the books that I have no idea about. There is a thriller that's called The Thinnest Air, and I think this one is about a woman that seems to be like having it all and like the luckiest woman in the world. It's like a wealthy mother of 2 with like an amazing husband, and then one day she disappears, and then it says it's not like Meredith to simply abandon her loved ones, and no one in this town would have reason to harm her. And when her desperate sister Greer arrives, she must face a disturbing question: what if no one really knows Meredith at all? It doesn't make it doesn't make a lot of sense in my mind what I read from the synopsis, but if you're looking for a thriller and this sounds like something you would enjoy, this comes out on the... So by the time you're watching this, I'm assuming it's probably already out, maybe. I don't know when I'm posting this. It's written by Minka Kent and currently has a rating of 4 stars out of a lot, 5,400. Then we have a historical fiction that's called The Summer Wives, and this is basically a romance, murder, class and power and dark secrets type of novel, and it's set over the 1950s and 60s. So if that's something that you're interested in, this one comes out on the 10th of July, and the author is Beatrice Williams. Then this one caught my eye just from the first little paragraph that it says, a powerful, darkly glittering novel about violence, love, faith and loss as a young Korean American woman at an elite American university is drawn into acts of domestic terrorism by a cult tied to North Korea. And it sounds really interesting. It's fiction, it's contemporary fiction, and it's written by R.O. Kwon, and it is coming out on the 31st of July, currently at 4.09 stars, so pretty good. And you know that usually North Korean stories are pretty heartbreaking, so prepare. Then a third book in the Conqueror saga is coming out. I don't know anything about this, I'm not in the saga, but if you are reading this, be aware that this one comes out on the 10th of July, and it's called Bright We Burn. Swiftly moving on. This is another historical fiction, and it's set in 1990s, and it's supposed to be... This is supposed to be like a coming-of-age story about these 2 girls, and it's basically inspired by the author's own life, and it's focused around the devastating violence of 1990s Colombia about a sheltering young girl and a teenage maid who strike an unlikely friendship that threatens to undo them both. So that sounds like it's gonna be a rough journey of a book, but if you're in for some heartache and hardship and you're looking for something like that, then this one comes out on July 31st, which is like there's always like a date in every month, a lot of books coming out at the same time. And this one is at 4.26, again a very good rating. Then there is a YA fantasy book called Heart of Thorns. I think it's gonna be a trilogy. This is the first one. It's written by Bree Barton, and honestly, when I read the synopsis, I thought that I've heard this so many times before. I don't know if it's just the synopsis. I clearly haven't read the book, so I don't know if it's gonna be... The synopsis really put me off of the book, and let me tell you why. There's 2 reasons. So the first sentence is, in the ancient river kingdom touches a battlefield, bodies the instruments of war. I understand the bodies the instruments of war, but touches the battlefield? What? So from the bat there, it seems like it's gonna be this very flowery, like very try-hard type of writing, and sometimes that's a hit for me and sometimes it's a miss, but it's literally like 5% hit and like 95% miss for me. The only like really flowery writing that I like so far is basically Laini Taylor, and that's about it. And usually this type really bothers me, so just from the first sentence I'm already like, maybe not for me. But it is basically about a girl who is, you know, your stereotypical badass hunter type of thing, and she's sworn against these demons, which are just women who can manipulate flesh, bones, breath, and blood. And then she wants to basically avenge her mother's death because those women killed her mother. But then guess what? She's promised the prince, so she has to change her knives into the silk gowns. And I mean, I just sort of feel like we've heard that before. And then in the synopsis it says, discover she has dark forbidden magic, the very magic she has sworn to destroy, which is kind of cool, but also kind of foiling it a little bit. And I read a few reviews, and some are good, some are not so much. It's currently a 3.82, it's only 235 ratings, so obviously it's quite skewed. But the thing that sort of bothered me when I looked at the comments is that it's by Emily May. There's like a big review of 2 stars, and she quoted some things from there. There's literally a quote that says, "You're beautiful when you lie." He quickly added, "Not to diminish you or suggest that your beauty is an indicator of your worth." And that is like such a awkward thing, like no one speaks like that. Overall, I don't know, it might be your favorite book, it might be brilliant, I haven't read it, it's just from what I've looked on Goodreads, it doesn't seem like it's gonna be the book for me, or just simply it seems like a book that I might live without. But it simply doesn't sound like it's a match for me, but if you're looking for something like that, this comes out on July 31st. Then there is a mystery suspense thriller type of book, it's called Girls' Night Out. It's by Liz Fenton, and it's about these women that go on to like a retreat, and then one of them disappears. It's always one of them disappears, like why? And as it says, as the clock ticks hour by hour, Natalie and Lauren's search rushes headlong into growing suspicion and dread. Maybe their secrets run deeper and more dangerous than one of them is willing or too afraid to admit. Comes out on July 24th, currently at 3.98. Now we have another book that didn't really sit well with me. It's a suspense psychological thriller one. It's by Robin Harding. It seems to be about a woman who's struggling to stay afloat. It says a stay-at-home mom whose troubled son is her full-time job. She thought that the day he got accepted into the elite forester academy would be the day she started living her life. Overweight, insecure, and lonely, she's desperate to fit into Forester's world, but after a disturbing incident at the school leads the other children and their families to ostracize the Metcalfes, I don't even know. She feels more alone than ever until she meets like a certain person, and then there's like a secret that somebody is pretending to be someone, but their real name is Amber Koenig, and she's a murderer. It's called Her Pretty Face, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned that. Just the first, I don't know if they mean special needs kid or just troubled, but the implication that getting away from the kid means that you could be, and I quote, the day she started living her life, as if she doesn't live, it's just a bit like not great. And then the whole overweight, insecure, and lonely like stuck together, like I don't know, it doesn't sit well with me, but maybe it's a great book. It is at 3.98 ratings and coming out on 10th of July. Then we have another mystery thriller. Seems to be a big month for those, and it's called Tips for Living. It's about a woman whose husband sleeps with another woman and then gets her pregnant and then leaves for that family, and then she moves away and she's starting a new life and getting over all of it, but then her ex-husband with his new wife get murdered, and she doesn't have any alibi for that day, and nor does she remember what she's done. So that one sounds kind of grim and dark and possibly very suspenseful. It's at 3.81 at the moment out of 10,000 ratings, so quite a lot. And it's coming out on July 31st. Guess what? Everything's coming out on that day. Then we have another super disturbing one. This one is again a mystery and thriller. It's called Baby Teeth, which is like already a horrid name for something that's a thriller and mystery and sort of scary type of book. And this is apparently about a daughter that's like super young, well, to begin with, who like is so attached to her father that she wants to kill the mother because she's getting the attention sometimes, and well, it doesn't say kill, but she wants to get rid of her and hope for, ideally for good. And then the mother, who like really loves her daughter but like is seeing that she's doing these things and trying to harm her, and the husband is like in denial, and it sounds terrifying, because we all know the scariest part in scary movies is the little kids that look creepy. That one's coming out on the 17th of July. Then we have The Loneliest Girl in the Universe, which I was very confused because I already owned that book and I've owned it for quite a few months, I think now. So I'm not sure if it's like publishing in some other publishing house or... Oh, it says first published September 7th, 2017. So I'm not sure if it's getting republished for some reason, I don't know. But it's coming out on July 3rd, and this is about a girl who's basically stuck alone in her spaceship after her parents pass away, and about how lonely that is, and she's like going around, and then she gets informed that there's gonna be another ship that's joining her, and it seems to be, and it says, and suddenly there are worse things than being alone. It's actually classed as a young adult science fiction. I didn't know that it was, but there we are, and it's 3.98 out of 2,300 ratings. Then we have Fox, which is a historical young adult fantasy novel, and it's written by EDINBURGH. And it says Thomas Fox is turning to stone, and the only cure to stop stone plague is to join his father's plot to assassinate the King of England. So I know that it's set in London, and it's some sort of supernatural type of thing. It's at 3.84 out of 172 ratings, and it's coming out of July 10th. I don't really have an opinion on this one so far, but stone plague sounds interesting. So that's basically all my thoughts on this one so far. Could be good. I have something... I know a lot of people love books set in England. It's not my favorite setting, so I think maybe that's why it's like a bit like eh. But it could possibly be a very brilliant book. Then I have something that I'm absolutely 100% am getting. It's called The Adventure Zone. Here There Be Gerblins, and it's basically a D&D graphic novel. Like, I don't know if this is gonna be a comic or like a graphic novel. It's listed under both, so I don't know, but it's basically about, it basically sees the illustrated exploits of 3 lovable dummies set loose in a classic fantasy adventure. Read their journey from small-time bodyguards to world-class artifact hunters. Marvel at the sheer metafictional chutzpah of a graphic novel based on a story created in a podcast where 3 dudes and their dad play a tabletop role-playing game in real life, and I am living for it. I am so excited. And also I think the illustrator is the person who did the Lumberjanes, which I haven't read but I want to. Anyway, I'm so excited for this. So excited for this. I actually had this on my Amazon wishlist for a while now because it was in Patrick Rothfuss list of like what he wants to read, because I stumbled across that at some point because me and Logan are watching the Acquisitions Incorporated D&D game online, and he had that there, and anyway, he's also in that game when we're watching. I'm just so excited for this one. It currently has 4.66 out of 70 ratings, and it's coming out on July 17th. I'm so pumped for it. Then there is a book by Emily Skrutsky, and it's called Hull Metal Girls, and it's supposed to, and I think this young adult science fiction also listed under LGBT. I don't know what sort of LGBT representation there is. I didn't come across of it. It's supposed to be about a girl whose brother is contracted a plague, and she knows that her janitor's salary isn't enough to fund his treatment, so she volunteers to become a Skila, a mechanically enhanced soldier sworn to protect and serve the governing body of the fleet. That sounds like it's gonna be fully like plot driven book. I don't know, maybe it's not, but it sounds like it. It's coming out on July 17th, and it has pretty cool cover, I think, even though it has real people, and I usually don't like that, but I think it's kind of cool. And I'm not gonna lie, mechanically enhanced soldier story sounds pretty intense and cool, so possibly gonna read that, not sure. Currently at 4.13 ratings, but only out of 45, so you know, the lesser ratings there are, the less like objective probable. Next book is by J.A. White, and it's actually a middle grade, and I clicked on it because of the cover, and I think the cover is one of the most stunning covers I've seen. If I were a kid, this would be like grabby hands, because look how beautiful that is. I mean, I'm only saying that because it's like a middle grade one. I am still grabby hands for that cover, but it's 4.03 out of 38 ratings, and it seems to be a story about a kid who stumbles into like some sort of witch's house and gets trapped in there and then finds another kid, I think, or something like that. But look how cool the cover is. It seems magical. If you're into middle grade or have children that you would like to buy this or something, It's coming out on July 24th. Not that you need to be a kid to read middle grade. I mean, you read what you want, and some middle grade books are absolutely amazing. And then lastly, I want to mention that the Nixie Triad series released the second book, or are gonna release on the 17th of July. I haven't read Nixie, but I have quite a few friends who had and they loved it. So I'm wanting to definitely get into that, and it's a YA science fiction again. I don't know what it is about, but I've heard so many good things about it. And the second book is called Nixie Unleashed, and it's by Scott Rentgen. Oh, and that is a wrap on that one. I feel like this went on for a while, even though I feel like I managed to be quite brief on these, so hopefully I didn't keep you here for too long. Hopefully you found something that piqued your interest. And that is everything for the July releases. If you think that there is some book that I didn't mention and is really cool and you're looking forward to, let us all know down in the comments, because I love these videos for that reason, because I get so many good notifications of like what else is coming out that sounds really cool from you guys in the comments. Chat to each other, chat to me, stay kind, stay awesome, and I'll see you next time. Bye!